Welcome to today's Soul Course, brought to you by GaiaWisdomSchool.org. Hey you guys, so I am really excited about this little three-part series that I'm going to put together for you. We are just about to begin the west direction of Medicine Wheel, and I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of share with you what the Medicine Wheel is and a little bit about the west direction so that you can maximize the energy of this next direction to really kind of catapult you forward in that specific area. So I'm going to be offering this three-part workshop, and in this time, it's going to be just 3 quick videos here. I'm going to, first of all, give you an overview of the Medicine Wheel. I get a lot of questions about people who want to know really what is the Medicine Wheel and how can that help me? How can this be a tool for me in my spiritual growth? So I want to share with you just kind of an overview of the Medicine Wheel. We'll go into each direction. We're going to do that in the first video here today. I'm going to give you kind of a broad stroke picture of how the wheel works in conjunction with each other, the different directions. And then I'm going to take you kind of through the emotional body of each direction, and you're going to see how the emotions kind of tie in from one direction to the next to the next to the next. That's the other thing that I get a lot of questions about, or actually people who want to, kind of blast through those emotional blocks that they have, or really be able to harness the energy of their emotions a little bit better. So we're going to go through that, and then in the next video we're going to go through the shadow self, light and shadow. We all have both that dark and that light side within us, but I'm going to show you how the emotional body gets manifested into that shadow part of ourselves. And in that video we're also going to talk a little bit about boundaries and protection, and give you kind of a broad stroke view of that also. That's another area that a lot of people need help in, especially if you're attracted to these kind of videos. Most likely you fall into that about 30% of the population who are empaths. And empaths have a great need for learning how to be protected and to know their boundaries so that you are contained and you can kind of control that fluidity between you and somebody else. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to, in the last video, I'm going to talk a little bit about ancestral healing, because that is, as we go into the west direction, the veil becomes very thin. And there are 2 times per year where the veil, and when I talk about veil, it's that veil between this ordinary world that we're in and the spiritual world. And so 2 times a year, that veil is very, very, very thin. And one is during Samhain, which is also Halloween in October, and Beltane, which is in May. And they directly go across from each other in the Medicine Wheel. They are on opposite ends of the spectrum. And so when we are in that time when the veil is very thin, it's a great time to be working on our ancestor lineage and healing the karma that kind of comes along with that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in the third video. So I'm going to jam pack this full of information. So I want you to take notes and get ready for a little bit of a ride here, and we'll get you started. Okay. So the first thing that I feel like I should tell you a little bit about, because some of you may be coming to these videos and you don't really know who I am. So let me just give you a little bit of background why I teach what I teach. So I'm Dakota. And a lot of you probably have either seen my Coffee with Dakota or my YouTube videos or Insight Timer or the website, or you've been here for a retreat, or you're in the mentorship, or you're on the Facebook group. I have a lot of little veins that kind of go out into the ethers here. So I have been doing this work now for, I don't know, like since I was born. Really, I've been doing this teaching spiritual work since I was about 21. That's kind of how I landed in this place. And before that, I did other things that kind of led to kind of carving out this path for me. So I've been doing it a long time. And maybe about 15 years ago, I started to really dive into the medicine wheel. I had heard about it and I knew about it, through the Native American spirituality that I had studied, and also through Druidry and, the sacred stone circles and things like that. I never really understood clearly how powerful of a tool the medicine wheel was until about 15 years ago. And I started to really, I began seeing it in my journeys with my guides. They were showing me the wheel and how it all kind of came together in the context that it did. And it really began to kind of make sense that this is a really powerful tool. It's an ancient tool. It's been around for, thousands and thousands, if not millions of years. And so what I have done and have tried to do and continue to do is to bring a modern day twist to it, where we can use this tool as a way to, integrate it into our life seamlessly. We're all very busy. And so I feel that I have connected the dots in a way that makes it very easy for people to use this framework to be able to take something. I always say, take it to the wheel and really see it from a different perspective, a different kind of a broad perspective, and then a narrowed in perspective, and then to be able to integrate tools that would help bring it back into balance. So anyway, that doesn't show you anything about who I am, but that's what I teach, and I'm very passionate about it. I love what I do. I am really tied into the people that I work with. I have this deep desire to not change the world. I know that I'm changing the world one person at a time, but I really feel very strongly about the work that I do. I feel that it's intuitive to me, and I feel that it's always been kind of a path that I have been led along the way, and it's been quite beautiful. So I started out as a massage therapist, and then I started teaching creativity and spiritual workshops. And then I went into holistic medicine, and then I have landed here where I am now teaching full-time to people like you who are really seeking to step into your power and to live the best life that you possibly can, and to be able to use these tools to carve out your own sacred purpose. I have had the fortune of working with some really amazing people throughout my years of doing this. And I'm always just amazed at how resilient and strong people are. And it gives me fuel to keep doing what it is that I do. So that's kind of a broad picture of me. I am happy, though. I have to share this because I'm really, I don't toot my horn very often. I get told that I don't toot it loud enough. I don't like to do that. But by the time you watch this video, I'm hoping that I will hit my 1 million mark on YouTube. I've been watching the numbers. 1 million times that people have viewed my videos, and that really, it means a lot to me. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to kind of do something that makes somewhat of a mark in this world. So anyway, go to my YouTube video. If you see the 1 million mark, you know that I am over here celebrating, and yay, yay. All right, so let's talk about the medicine wheel. And I hope that you're going to be able to see my board. Okay. So it is just like a compass. You've got 4 cardinal directions. There are actually 7 directions in the medicine wheel, because you've got the Mother Earth, and you've got Father Sky. So and you've got the center here. I don't want a little bullseye there. So I'm going to go through each of the directions and just kind of give you an overview of what each direction represents in the big picture. And then we're going to work our way through the wheel using the emotional body or the emotions, because that's the big sticking point for people. And if you can harness the energy of your emotions, you can change your life. Because in this reality, in our third dimensional beingness, we are driven by our emotions primarily. And the emotional body is what either keeps us from being powerful or pushes us into the emotional body so far that we lose touch with the spiritual and the other areas that need to be brought in. So let's start in the East. And the East is the mental body. And the East is where we work on sacred purpose in the context of what we do in the world. How are we changing the world around us? How are we showing up? What is our contribution? So when I talk about sacred purpose, I talk about it in the context of the wheel. There are 4 components to living your sacred purpose. And your job and career, which is what most people think about, is actually is only one side of that sacred purpose. So we've got, I'm just going to put job, but really this is one thing I try to stress, is that it's not necessarily the job that you get paid for, because sometimes people will, their contribution to the world is through their volunteer work, it's through serving their family. It shows up in a lot of different ways. I don't want you to tie in so locked into that idea that it has to be about making money. It really is about how you contribute to the world. And so when we go into the mental body, into the East direction, it's a lot about clarity. It's about perspective. It's having that vision for your life or for anything, really. It's where our dreams and our aspirations kind of begin. So in the East, we think about, like, this is the birthing time of our dreams. It's where we plant the seeds of what it is that we want to create in our life. And I apologize if you can't read my writing. I will try better. So let me do something here, because I'm going to run out of room. So we've got clarity, we've got dreams. So in the medicine wheel, in the context of the medicine wheel, and you have to think, let's go back like thousands of years when indigenous people were using the medicine wheel as a means of a spiritual tool. They would, each direction had very, very specific energies, and those energies were tied into the place where they lived and the climate and things like that. So seasons and times of their life, time of day, all these kind of things that really lended itself to, like, they could, it's East direction. This is the time that we plant our gardens. This is the time that we begin coming out of that hibernation from the north, and we start life again. So keep that in mind. And when you start beginning to study the medicine wheel, you'll realize that there's guardian animals, there are colors and elements, and there's just all kinds of things, and they won't always be in alignment with each other, because indigenous cultures didn't live in the same climate. So they would have, their wheel was really personalized to them. I share that because sometimes and even with the way I teach it, you may feel that there's something missing that may be personal to you, but maybe I'm not teaching it, or maybe you don't see it in another wheel. It doesn't mean that it's not true. It could be true for you. And one of the things, and I want to clear this up right now, one of the primary foundation for what I teach is to teach you how to be in your power, how to create the life that you are meant to live. And because of that, you're going to hear me say a lot of times, what does it mean to you? How are you interpreting it? What do you want it to mean? And because we've gotten so used to pushing our power outside of ourselves and giving it to other people to tell us, what does it mean? Or how should I act? Or what should I do? And all of that is within ourselves. And that's a whole other workshop. In fact, it's the mentorship is what it is. But so I want you to keep that in mind, that, you know, when you are working with this wheel, if you feel that there is a certain animal or color or something that represents that direction to you, then go with it. You know, that should be personalized to you. But for the sake of me and what I'm teaching and what I'm doing is I'm bridging the Celtic with the Native American quite often. So in the East, we've got birth. So if you're looking at the time of your life, it would be from your birth to about like 18 years old. And so you think about those years are very formative. Those are the years where we are beginning to learn how to be in this world. We're learning mentally. We're learning how to be in relationship with people. We're learning what our place is, things like that. When you look at time of day, it is the morning. And so you think about the sun rising. It's the birth of a new day. It's the that fresh time during the day where things are kind of new, and you're working in that mental body oftentimes, hatching out what your day is going to look like. It is the air element. And the elements are really fun to work with, because when you start working with the elements, you realize that they each represent something very different, and you can call on an element to specifically help you with something. So the air element often represents celebration, clarity, clearing out, joy. And, you know, right now, as I'm filming this, we have a huge air element coming at us with Irma, and we just got done with Harvey. So you see air element in the context of the earth also. And that's like this, it's doing a major clearing out. It's doing a destructive clearing out, but the earth is clearing. So this is pretty much the East direction. As far as animal guardians, you've got the eagle, you've got hawk, and you've got owl. And those are all winged creatures. So you think about that air element again. And also that they can, from a higher perspective, see the broader picture. So that's the East. And then we move down here to the South. And where am I going to write all this that you can see it? All right. So South, we'll just go with it. South is your emotional body. And the so the South is really vibrant, really vibrant. It is, oh wait, let me backtrack here for just 1 second. So the East is also, I'm drawing a blank. Solar plexus. Is it solar plexus? See? There's so many components to each of these directions. And it's interesting how they do all play together. Oh, no, it's throat. I knew if I spoke long enough, I'd get it. Throat chakra. So communication. And let me back up here to the East. Communication is a huge part of the East, and being able to use that vocabulary. So when you look at like soul tools, we work with prayer, mantras. We learn deep communication, deeply listening, communicating from that heart-centered space. And we really kind of forge those tools with being able to live our sacred purpose as well. And also as a way to heal other areas of our life. So when we come down to the emotional body, the south direction, and things get really, really juicy and vibrant. So sacral chakra. And this is where we work on relationships, we work on intuition, and so when you are when you have a lot of energy in the south direction, you have an excess amount of south energy, you tend to be overly emotional. You might be codependent. You might be an emotional hijacker. And that means that you kind of take over a conversation with the story about you. You might be cry at the drop of a hat. Drama finds you, follows you, etc. So a lot of people, and especially people who are, kind of drawn to this work, a lot of them will hover in north and south. This is where your comfort spots are. And even if you have an excess amount of energy, you're still more comfortable here because that's what you know. So this will hit home with a lot of people, these two directions. In the south, let's think about garden. So in the east, when we planted those seeds, when we come to the south, we're in that summer month. That's one thing. This is spring. It goes by seasons. So you've planted your seeds and you've come down here to the south, and now you're in the summer and you are nurturing those seeds. You're growing them. So there's a lot about the nurture, growth, and that kind of ties into all of these too. So nurturing the relationships, nurturing that intuitive body. It's about self-love and nurturing yourself. Oops. So summer months, and this is if you're looking at the time of day, it's the afternoon. And the time of your life would be from about 18 to about age 35-ish. Maybe a little bit before 35. But it's those years where you're kind of that young adult and you're really kind of growing your career, you're growing your relationship, your marriage, all of these things in your life that you're beginning to really nurture and bring into fruition for yourself. Wow, that's a lot of words. I hope you guys can read all that. I don't know if you can or not, but take notes. Okay, so south. Very, very juicy, vibrant. Some of the things that we do in the south to kind of balance out energy is obviously we work on intuition a lot. We work on empathy, learning how to be empathic in a healthy way. Sometimes people are not empathic in a healthy way. They take on too much energy. We work on a lot of self-love things, how to bring that energy into yourself and build that relationship with yourself so that you can have a healthy relationship outside of yourself. And we also do a lot of work with sensuality and sexuality, because one of the things that we often close down is the sacral chakra. And so we try to step into that divine feminine and balance out that energy, learning how to be expressive in a way that is honoring to who we are as a human being. So that is a lot of the south. Oh, water element. So, yeah. Water element obviously is about emotions, and then you've got dolphin and frog as gatekeepers. Now, one of the things about dolphin teaches us how to play. One of the things. And in the south, that is a lot of that energy. It's very playful. It's very fluidic. It's moving. It's passionate. There's a lot of feeling in the south. So the south is one of those directions. People either love it or they hate it. You can ask anybody in the mentorship. This is a definite love-hate relationship in this direction, because it's it really hits home for a lot of people. And in my opinion, it is, well, all the directions need to be balanced out, but the south is a really vital direction to balance out. All right, so then we go to, let me just make sure I got everything here. Let me change colors here for a moment. Now we go to the west direction, and that's the direction that we're getting ready to go into right now. And the west is the physical body. And this is where we begin to see the harvest of what we have planted over here. So we've planted seeds, we've nurtured them, now we're going to harvest them. So this happens right around age 36 to about 60. And this is when we start getting into that time of our life and we're looking back and saying, okay, what have I created? What have I accomplished? What have I done? And we also now are experiencing in our physical world the internal world. So your external world will always match your internal world. So if you are not happy with where you are living, if you have clutter all around you, if you are sick a lot, if you have addictions, all these things are outer manifestations of what is happening internally. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, about the emotions. But so the physical world is where we work on creating that sacred space, both within and without. So sacred space. It's also where we work on boundaries and protection. So when I was talking about the empathic people down here, the emotions and all of that stuff, is the west is where we create that container. And we have the foresight and the knowledge and the wisdom now to know when and how to protect ourselves energetically and even physically. This is also, we work with the relationship that we have with Mother Earth, because it's that physical environment. It's the fire element, which is a great transformer. And let me just put this up here too. So a lot of people don't like to work on this, but forgiveness is a huge aspect of the West direction that we go through. And so when you have forgiveness, you're actually tapping into that fire element, and forgiveness is a transformer of an emotional wound. And so everything here that we work on is about transforming our life now. So we have, assessed, where are we? What have we done? How have we accomplished? How have we created? And what do I need to change? What do I need to transform? And then we go through that rebirthing process. We also work on ancestors. And the reason for that, let's do a different color here. So in the Celtic wheel, you have actually, the Celtic wheel does quadrants like this. And so down here we've got Beltane. And up here we've got Samhain. And this time period, which happens around October 31st to November 2nd or 5th, that is where the veil is at that thinnest. That and here at Beltane. And when the veil is the thinnest, we have the ability to work with the other side, the spiritual side, in a very fluidic and easy way. Like if you ever had trouble journeying or meditating and really reaching that state of being with your guides or with your ancestors, this would be the time where you would not have that problem, because it's almost like you're walking right into it. So and which also ties into, you need to be able to have that boundary and that protection because of that. Okay, so Phoenix and Snake. Phoenix as in the bird, snake. Those are two of the gatekeepers here. And again, you think about that transforming aspect of them. The phoenix flies into the fire. Thunderbird flies into the ashes. Thunderbird flies into the fire. And the phoenix rises up out of the ashes, transformed, rebirthed. And the snake rebirths every time it sheds its skin. So rebirth, again, is another huge. This is also autumn time, fall, and time of day is going to be in that liminal time. So again, think about this, where the veil is thin. And when I say liminal, it's about between 5 p.m. to about 10 p.m. So in the evening. When there is, let me do a little side note here. There are certain times and places that are considered liminal, which means that the veil is thin. So you've got the time of year, you've got the time of day, which is in the morning, where dawn, and at dusk. So you've got both light and dark coming together. And then also out in nature, wherever there's a threshold. So where a forest meets a meadow, a beach meets the water, a tree line meets, a path. These are all liminal spaces. And when you are in those places or those times, you have an easier way to access the spiritual world. So that's just a little side note. What else do we have here? Rebirth ancestors. Fire, I got that. Let me tie in sacred purpose here really quick. So I said the sacred purpose over here is the job, career, how you contribute to the world. Down here, your sacred purpose are your relationships, both to yourself and to others. And over here, it is your physical environment, your sacred space is your, that's how your sacred purpose will show up. And I'll tell you the north here in just a second. So let me just say really quickly, here is a way that sacred space would, or sacred purpose would not be fulfilled completely. Let's say that you absolutely love your job. So much so that you probably work, 60, 70 hours a week. But you don't have like a relationship that you feel really connected to. That is where you lose that congruency in your sacred purpose. Or let's say that maybe you love your job, you have a great marriage or a great relationship, it's really connected, but you don't like where you live. Then that loses that aspect of that sacred purpose. So when you have a job that you love, you have relationships where you feel connected and authentic, and you have a space that you love coming home to, you love being in, and your external environment matches the internal environment. And when we come up to the north, it's about your spiritual body, your spiritual path. When all those are synced up, you are truly living your sacred purpose. If you only have one or two of those areas in balance, then you're only partially living your sacred purpose. So that's the goal here, is to get yourself into a place where everything is in balance and everything is cohesive and congruent. Okay, I think we're going to go more into this in the next videos, because this is the direction that we're coming into. So I'm not going to spend any more time there. When we come up here to the north, we've got the spiritual body. And this is winter time. You think of nighttime during the night dark. And think about the season, winter. What do we want to do? We want to hibernate. We want to be inside. We want to be warm and cozy. We're not really out socializing, things like that. So introspection is a key energy. Oh my gosh, I need a ladder. So introspection. You can't even see that. Okay, sorry. Here, let me move the camera a little bit. Okay, that gives me a little bit more room. When we go into the north direction, that's our time to go inward and begin working really exclusively with our spirit guides, our spirit team, and we still continue this work with our ancestors. But it's kind of like we draw all that energy inward to find out what this all means to me. You know, we're taking out the external world. We're taking away the influences of our relationships, of our environment, of our job, of the world around us. And we're really going in and we're saying, okay, I need to regroup, because, you know, I'm going to come back around here to the east and I'm going to have new seeds that I want to plant. I have new ideas, new dreams, new visions, all of this stuff. So this is kind of where you hatch out your plan with your guides. You tap into that place within you that is connected to that all-encompassing, you know, we call it the oversoul. It's that global consciousness. And you figure out, how am I best going to be expressed in this world? So because you're working so much so in the spiritual world here, the element is actually earth. And that confuses people. But earth is what you need to stay grounded while you travel and work in the outer worlds. So we've got the earth element. Bear is a guardian, and you think of bear likes to hibernate. That's one of the things that they know. But the other thing about bear is that they are so tapped into that deep internal wisdom that, and that's one of their medicine for us, is they help us tap into that same wisdom within ourselves. But they also know when to come out. So they kind of help guide us, let us go and travel into these spiritual worlds, and then help us to come back into this earthly realm so that we can come back down here to the east. So, okay, guides. Oh, wait, let me finish up guardians. Buffalo woman. And age-wise, this is your elder years. So 60 and above. And see, when we get to that crone stage, or I forget the name of it for men. Anyway, when you get to those elder years, you're really at that point kind of more in that place of, what has my life meant? Where do I go from here? Like if you believe in reincarnations, what am I going to manifest in my next life? What needs to be healed right now, so that when I go into and I come into another lifetime, that I am coming in as a clear vessel, so to speak. And so we do a lot of healing in this area. One of the things, when I remember I said that people who come into, most likely people who are watching this video right now, they like to hover in these two directions because they're really comfortable. You're really comfortable in that spiritual body. You're really comfortable working with the guides and kind of being in that ethereal realm and anchored into also the emotions. And so this vein is a very feminine vein. this vein is very masculine. And so that's kind of the difference too, that you have these kind of people who struggle with these two directions because they're a little bit more foreign. So, okay, let me regroup here. Sacral, throat. This is your solar plexus. So this is where we come into our power. And this is your third eye. And did I have that right? Yeah. This is really getting, this is like Einstein board. I just need to do an MC square. Okay, so we've got all, these are the 4 cardinal directions, and I think I have most of that here. When we start talking in context of the soul archetypes, and that's, so the soul archetypes, let me just tell you really quickly. When I was doing my initial journeying with my guides and saying, okay, you know, show me how this medicine wheel works so that I can bring it to people. And they showed me the soul archetypes. So the soul archetypes, the way that I teach them is exclusive to my work. They are names and, you know, everything about that soul archetype. All of this information is based on my work with my guides and my Akashic records, and really kind of traveling to and finding this information. So in the East, it's the visionary. The South is the sacred heart warrior. The alchemist or the earth keeper is in the West. And then in the North is the soul shaman. And then in the middle, this is a very important spot. That is the wisdom keeper. And so the wisdom keeper, and we don't have actually a mentorship on the specific wisdom keeper section, because when you have these in balance, you are in the middle of the wheel, in the center, as a wisdom keeper, and you are now having the ability to pull in energy from whatever direction you need at any given time. I could be in the center of the wheel, and let's say that I am going through something in my life. I may be struggling with where I want to live. I can sit in the middle of the wheel and I can look at that from every perspective, all 4 directions, both individually and simultaneously. And then I can decide what I need from each direction. You know, maybe I need some self-love. Maybe I need to make that choice for myself for a change. Maybe I've always made that choice for other people. Or maybe, you know, if I look at the West, it's you know, you're looking more in how will it affect my physical body? How will it affect my physical world externally? Looking at the East, how will my mental body be cleared up if I moved? Or is there a different job opportunity? You know, so you're looking at it from all these different directions. And that's the beauty of being in that wisdom keeper spot. So as we go through the wheel, our goal is to live in this, to get to this place where we're living as a wisdom keeper. And that's the primary thing there. So the wisdom keeper is the heart chakra. And so the heart, yeah. Well, that didn't work. So the heart chakra is in that center wheel, and when you live from a heart-centered space, everything comes into balance. So that's the overview of the medicine wheel. And then very quickly before we leave this video, I want to give you an example of how emotions kind of move through the wheel. So let me erase this and I will come back and we will go through that, okay? Hey there. Okay, so I know that I told you that I was going to come back and talk about the emotions and run them through the medicine wheel. What I'm going to do instead is put that into video 2 because it ties in really nicely with the shadow work that we're going to be talking about. And so we're going to end this video right here. And what I want you to take away, one is how the medicine wheel is all encompassing. And two, I would love to have you take the soul archetype test on our website if you have not already. This will give you an idea of just how much energy you put into one direction. We have usually one predominant soul archetype, and then the others will kind of fall into place. And what we ideally want to do is to, yes, have that predominant soul archetype, but to have a lot of energy put into that wisdom keeper space as well. And then that needs to be balanced. So I'm going to leave a link down below for you to go take that test and find out where you kind of live in the medicine wheel, so to speak. And if you can, down below, leave me a comment and let me know just, what do you feel you need the most help with in your life right now? What are the sticking points for you? And oftentimes we can relate that to a very specific direction, or be able to pull energy from a direction to kind of feel into that. So I'll be monitoring the comments, and then I will respond to them and kind of give you like a little, here, check this kind of thing. So anyway, video number 2 is going to come out in just a couple of days, and I really want you to watch that. We're going to dive into the emotions and the shadow work. And I think you're really going to enjoy that because it's going to really make some sense of some things of how we operate from that emotional standpoint in our life. And I'm going to give you some real life examples through my work with some different clients and even myself. I'll give you a little bit about my story too. And that will, I think that will be an aha moment for you in figuring that out. So look for the video, and I will send out an email to you. I'll post it in the Facebook group and wherever else you have found this video, and then we'll from there go to video 3. So again, leave a comment down below and check out video number 2 in just a couple of days. And thanks for spending this time with me and for putting up with my long-winded teaching. All right, thanks you guys. Bye.